traditional party leaders demonstrates the depth of the Republicans' challenges in what is likely to be a punishing campaign year. Trump is, though impulsive as ever, fixated on personal loyalty, cultivating a winner's image, and privately prodding Republican candidates to demonstrate their affection for him while complaining bitterly when he campaigns for those who lose. His preoccupation with the ongoing Russian investigation adds to the unpredictability, spurring Trump to fume loud in ways that divide the GOP and raising the prospect of illegal confrontations with the campaign. And despite projecting confidence, he polls nearly all of those who enter the Oval Office about how they view the climate of the midterm. So, and you wonder what they all say, like, Mr. President, you're in some serious trouble. So that is, I mean, I personally don't see it ever really kicking in, but he is in a lot more trouble, in my opinion, than he does realize.
Yeah, it's hard for me to believe that he doesn't realize it, but I think he at least on the exterior is projecting confidence, and I guess he has to do that when he's around fellow Republicans. Although he's coming off as being naive, I don't think he's really that naive. But he really needs to save the Senate, and he really needs to make sure that enough Republicans in the Senate don't convict him in an impeachment trial. He's got to really get his ducks in a row. It's a pretty high bar. They're going to need like 67 votes in the Senate for conviction. I'm guessing, of course, that the impeachment process will go through. I think that's very likely. I guess it depends on how serious the final Mueller report is, but I'm guessing it will be pretty serious. He's in a really difficult political situation here, and I think if the House is pretty much lost, then there's really nothing he can do about that. He's really got to hold on to the Senate, even if he can't hold the Senate as a majority. He's got to make sure that enough Republicans don't jump ship and vote to impeach him.
So, what do you think? In the next 2 years after the midterms, what do you think the chances of impeachment are, and how aggressively should the Democrats pursue it based on the finding of the Mueller investigation? If it's really serious, then obviously they should go after it. But if it's not such a bombshell thing, should they still consider pushing impeachment at all costs and bringing it up, maybe even campaigning on it in the 2018 midterms?
I think that it depends on whether Mueller reports on anything before that. There's a good chance that his final report on obstruction of justice will be made available, at least to Rosenstein, and Rosenstein then has to decide what he does with it, whether he gives it to Congress or whether he makes it public. If that's a pretty damning report, and I do think it will be, I think there's a very good case for obstruction, then I think that the Democrats can more openly start talking about impeachment as a campaign issue in the midterms.
And how soon do you see this obstruction of justice report coming out?
I do. I think I think it's pretty much ready, except for the fact that the president hasn't granted an interview with the Mueller team.
Huh.
I think to really tie a bow on it, they need to have the president's testimony. And they could go without it, I suppose, but I don't think it would be as compelling, and I don't think that they could get some criticism that they were missing that if the president doesn't get testimony. They're still trying to negotiate an interview And if the president doesn't agree to one, then I think Mueller should subpoena him before a grand jury. I think it's important that they do get that testimony and then get that report out.
Yeah, and it would really be not very good for the Republicans to. It wouldn't look that great for Republicans to hold Mueller accountable and say, "Oh, you didn't interview the president," when the president didn't want to do the interview, and Mueller tried very hard for this whole thing to take place.
Right. I mean, Mueller has to at least appear that he's making his best effort to get the interview done, just so that there isn't any political pushback. I think Mueller. I think one of the mistakes Comey made was that he worried too much about the politics of things, and he got in trouble with both parties. I don't know that Mueller is like that. I think Mueller is more interested in the law and what laws are broken, and all the typical protocol that goes into establishing a criminal case. And this is just one of the things that he wants to have done from that perspective. But I don't think he can completely ignore the politics of this either. It's just that he can't let that override, just the law aspect of it. And I think that was some mistakes that Comey made.
Yeah, that'll be a very important look to follow in. That's going to be something very important to follow up on. Yeah, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have today. Impeachment will be very interesting based on the upcoming reports. It's something I will, and I'm sure many political followers in America will be keeping a little bit of an eye on. I do want to give credit to all sources today that did mention the Wolf story. It was courtesy of Politico. The Trump rally story was courtesy of the New York Times. The Tester story was courtesy of the Chicago Tribune, and the Kim Jong-un story and the story we just did were courtesy of, again, the New York Times. So I was the background on that, at least anyway. So anyway, Glenn, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you soon. It has been very nice to have you on, as always.
Very good, Spencer.
All right, we will see you guys Monday, but be sure to check out tonight for the one episode coming out at 9.